Christopher Lee, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. And as always, I'm joined by Babby.
Mm.
We have a slam dunk episode as always. Our first monkey free episode until next summer. Probably. I don't know. I haven't decided if I'm going to do Simian Summer again, and I guess I don't have to decide right now. But it is a funny concept, and I did like it. But it's dead and buried, and we won't talk about it anymore. That's probably a lie. It's probably the most interesting thing I've ever done with my life. But we'll move on for now. We have a slam dunk week. Like I said, not a whole lot of news. I don't think. Let me think. We do have podcast timing because I guess there's a PlayStation showcase tomorrow as of us recording this, which is probably going to be going over the PlayStation 5 Pro, is what everyone thinks it's going to be. I don't know if I would usually cover that on this show, but just in case, it's a thing and I'm not going to talk about it because it hasn't happened yet. Other than that, I don't think there's been a whole lot of news, movie or gaming wise. I've ordered Astro Bot because everyone's going crazy about it, and I love a 3D platformer. So I've ordered it. I will give thoughts next week. Probably not complete thoughts. I don't know how long the game is. I think it's relatively short. It's a PlayStation game, and they priced it at $60, which is basically the old $40. I guess, if you want to count it like that, and I will. So I'll talk about it a little bit next week. But in terms of gaming stuff, I do kind of want to talk about a hit game that I've been playing, or I guess I've already beaten it. But I played through and I beat the original BioShock. This is not my first time playing BioShock, but it is really the only one that mattered because I think I played it back in high school and I didn't really remember anything. I remember the twist, which I won't be going into because certain parties here have not played / finished BioShock, so I won't.
I played the first game.
You played the whole thing?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. Well, then I'm still not going to talk about the twist because it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's I've been wanting to go back to it, mainly because I guess there's talks of a sequel, reboot, something. I think 2K, the company that makes BioShock, is like, oh, IP. And so they're like seeing dollar signs. And I think I'm pretty sure the only news we know about it is that it is, I'm I'm pretty sure they announced something about it and it was bad. And I don't remember whether they said it was going to be open world or if they said it was going to be a live service game. But it was one of those two, and everybody was upset about it. And this wasn't recent. This was like months ago. But there's stuff in the air, and I guess there was some like screenshots that leaked last or in July, whatever. And so I'm like, you know what? Let's boot up the old BioShock. It's been a hot minute since I've played it. Does it hold up? That was a dumb question for me to ask because, of course, BioShock holds up. Probably one of the best games of all time. That is, unfortunately, clogged down with a little bit of like old school jank, which I feel weird saying because it isn't that old of a game. I don't even know if it's 15 years old. But it's kind of bogged down by like the hacking mini game is absolutely terrible, to the point where like if you sell an item, if there's an item in the game that allows you to skip a certain aspect of your game, then just cut it out, because there's automatic hack tools that are littered throughout the game that just skip hacking sections. And I don't know if it's because the developer knew that those sections were trash, or I don't know. I don't know why they're there. I guess it's to be like an incentive, but I don't know if anyone likes the hacking game. It's definitely iconic. It's when people think of hacking mini games, it's probably the first one that comes to mind because I mean it's probably one of the earlier ones. Um, and it's the one that most people have experience with. But it's the classic pipe flow mini game, um, which you can play on a Flash game website or something. Why would you want it in Bioshock? Although I do know that there is a game that has Minesweeper as a hacking mini game, and that's probably the best decision that anyone has ever made. So I need to track down that game and play it because I would be very good at the hacking mini game. But what I noticed this time playing Bioshock is how political it is, I guess you could say. Because I mean, the whole premise of it is, Andrew Ryan is this ultra capitalist libertarian nut job who is basically, disillusioned by the American capitalism because in the 50s, he was like, the government is in too much of the business's pockets, whatever. I want to be free. I want to do my own thing. So I'm going to settle a city in the bottom of the ocean, and I'm just going to invite like the prettiest people, the most intelligent people, artistically gifted people, and create a utopia in my image, and it's going to be great. Spoiler alert, it wasn't great because otherwise the game wouldn't happen. Because it's basically like a dystopia where, these plasmids, which are these, I guess, potions or something, some sort of chemical concoction that gives people superpowers of sorts, is released to the public and it corrupts their minds. So basically, everybody in this underwater city has gone crazy, and hilarity ensues, as you can probably imagine. I think it is kind of interesting to compare this to Bioshock Infinite because that is barely a Bioshock game. It's just an action adventure shooter game that takes place in the sky. Um, it's a game that really has nothing to do with BioShock except for the name, and then it utterly spoils the first two games in its last 10 minutes for absolutely no reason. And it's like, why would you do this? Because most people were probably introduced to BioShock through Infinite. So why would you have the ending of Infinite spoil BioShock 1 and 2? Which I don't know. I just think that's crazy that that's the decision they made. Especially with how like infamous the twist is in BioShock, where it really is. It's an M. Night Shyamalan twist of sorts. It's a twist villain that works, I guess, which maybe even saying that is too much. But I don't know. I just thought it was very, very interesting. And I've been playing Bioshock 2, and I think Bioshock 2 is kind of widely regarded to be the worst one. So far, it is my favorite one as I'm playing it. Gameplay wise, it is a complete and utter improvement over the first game. Got rid of the stupid hacking mini game and made it way faster and way easier and way more intense because, time doesn't stop when you hack in Bioshock 2. So in Bioshock 1, if there's like, you shock a turret and then you're surrounded by 8 people, you can just hack the turret real quick And by real quick, I mean it'll take roughly a minute and a half to do your little puzzle. And then time resumes and you have a turret on your side and then you just win the game. Now in Bioshock 2, time doesn't stop and you have to, if you're surrounded by people, it's a real gamble because you got to focus on avoiding people, attacking, maybe if you're feeling super spicy, and also hacking, which is kind of difficult to do. It's kind of difficult to do on its own. It's one of those where it's kind of, maybe easy to pick up but hard to master because it's like I don't want to describe it. You'll just look it up. Um, so yeah, it's a gamble, which I like. I like the choice. I also like the setting a little bit more. Um, because I think Andrew Ryan, honestly, I think Andrew Ryan should have been the bad guy in BioShock. I know the twist is a big thing in BioShock, but like, I think having this ultra capitalist libertarian weirdo is a good person to root against. Um, Having him like teased throughout the entire game, and I do think that while his death is it's a very popular scene. It's probably that's where the twist is revealed is when he dies. But I think it would have been way better if like he actually is the bad guy. Maybe I don't know, but it's the villain in BioShock 2 is very interesting as well because it's not so much a criticism of leftist ideologies. It's more a criticism of, so you start off with this ultra right wing capitalist guy who's running this utopia of sorts that is basically a dictatorship that he is doing at the bottom of the ocean. Once he is usurped, then the person that fills the power vacuum is someone that preaches a lot of like collectivist ideologies and like, oh, we need to band together as a family, but meanwhile she's just using it to propel her political career forward. So like using leftist keywords to kind of grab for power, which I think is interesting. It's an interesting.
Nobody ever does that.
I know. And that game came out in like 2004. And it's even more true today than it was back then. I'm 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 just joking. I hate when people say that unironically, but okay. BioShock 2 came out in 2010, so it was probably a hit on Barack Obama.
They would never be that smart.
Not in 2010. Actually, I don't even know if 2K is American based. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's Canadian, for all I know. Although, actually, they probably are because, like, all three of their games are takedowns of different aspects of American, like, whatever ideologies. So they probably are. So yeah, I'm not done with BioShock 2, but I do really really like it, and I think going into it, because I this is one that I've never played. I went straight from BioShock 1 to BioShock Infinite because as a dumb teen, I was like, well, whatever. I just want to do the one that everyone's talking about. And I want to fly around in the sky. And mainly because BioShock was too scary for me back then. And I'm like, I don't want to do another horror game. BioShock Infinite is not that. So I full on in BioShock 2, but I do like that you play as a big daddy. I think that's cool, which is something I didn't even talk about when I talked about BioShock, but it is by far probably the best thing about BioShock. I mean, it is the cover of the game is a big guy in a scuba suit with a big drill on his hand and a creepy little girl with glowing yellow eyes and a big needle that has a red, like, I don't know, test tube attached to it. Um, but yeah, I think that probably is the best stuff, and I think that is what's missing in Infinite in a way, which I guess I'll talk about when I beat Infinite later. But Bioshock 2, pretty G dang good. I did I did have it crash a couple of times on me, and I lost like 20 minutes or maybe even more of progress, which was very frustrating. So I had to download some mods to fix that because I think the code in the remaster version is not very good, but also the code in the original BioShock 2 is not very good because I'm pretty sure it's a if I remember right, it's kind of a Ocarina of Time situation where they're just like, let's just slap something together and call it BioShock 2 and then move on with our lives. So I don't know. Or maybe a New Vegas situation where it's like they kind of copied a bunch of assets from the first game, but then it's kind of better. I don't know. I'll say it. I like BioShock 2 more than I like BioShock. I think the story in BioShock's were more interesting, but I don't know. I'm really liking BioShock 2. So I will report more when we get there, when I finish it, maybe next week. I don't know. Depends on how fast I'm going. But I also have other stuff to do this week, so I don't know. So that's that. Um, On to movie stuff. I watched two hit films. One of them is new. So again, similar to last week with Sing Sing, I won't be going too much into the details because I want people to see it. But we'll start off with the one that I don't know if anyone cares about. I watched the 73 movie Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man. No, not the one with Nicolas Cage where he says, "Not the bees, not the bees." That's a different Wicker Man. That's the remake. And they cast Nicolas Cage in it for some reason. But the original Wicker Man is a cult classic. No pun intended, because it's about a cult. It's a heartwarming film where one of the guys from Hot Fuzz plays a detective who is he's either from England or Scotland. The movie takes place on an island off the Scottish coast, a small, isolated island known for fruit production, which, isn't usually the case in the rocky, craggy hellscape that is the British Isles. Unless it's a potato, nothing really grows there. So it's weird that on this island in the middle of nowhere, they have fruit. It's very, very odd, very odd. But that's not why the detective is there. He's there because someone sent a letter to the cops, I guess. I don't know. He never really says where he's from. He's just a cop. So they sent a letter to the cop and being like, "Yo, this 13-year-old girl is missing. You gotta find her." And so then, he goes to the island to find the girl. And it's, as soon as he touches down, it's odd vibes because he flies a water plane, which is pretty sick. He flies a water plane and then he lands in the ocean, and then he he kind of pulls up to the dock, but not really close. And he's like, "Yo, Dock Harbor boy, bring a dinghy to me." And then the dock guy has to get in a boat and then row out and get him. But then once he gets on the dock, he's like, "Yo, I have this picture of this girl and she's missing. Do you guys know who she is?" And they're like, "Nope, never seen that girl before in my whole entire life." And then the cop is like, "Oh, okay, well, the letter says that um, it's the post office lady's daughter." And they're like, "Oh, that lady. Oh, she does have a daughter, but that's not her." And so you're sus. The whole thing is like, "Oh, something's up. Something's up in this town, and I'm not entirely sure what it is." But there's little just little clues that there might be some sort of cult going on, and that sometimes, he's walking around and then there's just like 10 people in the middle of the field having sex, or like, like he's just like walking around. Most of the movie is him walking around and asking questions. And he's walking around and then a bunch of young 13-year-old boys are, they all have a ribbon that's tied to a giant pole that's in the middle of town square, and they're going in circles, and the song that they're singing is all about dicks. And so then he goes to the school, and there's a school, and it's just a girls' school. And the teacher there is like, "Oh, you see that big pole?" And the girl's like, "Yeah." And the teacher's like, "Ah, it's a dick. It's phallic." And that's what's important in our town, is that we have a giant dick. And then probably the best part about this movie is that the cop is a raging Christian. He's probably the most Christian guy I've ever seen in a film ever. And he is so triggered. He's a Christian snowflake because he's going to this town and who's to say it's a cult? It's just a religion that's different than his. And he is all up in everyone's business. And he was like, "Yo, why is everyone having sex in the field? This isn't Christian." And he's talking to people and he's like, "Do you guys even know who Jesus Christ is?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, he's a guy, but like, not that important." And then the cop is like, "I am so upset. I am going to get back up. Not because not because the daughter is missing and I can't find her, but because I'm very upset that this is not a Christian island. I expect every island I go to be strict Catholics or Protestants, probably Protestants because he's English. And, that's probably, I don't know if I would say it's the best part of the movie, but it is probably the funniest part. Because I think at the time of filming, I think you are supposed to be rooting for this guy and being like, "Yeah, they aren't Christian." But the whole time I was just like, this dude is so offended. He is so fragile in his ideology that if anyone in the entire planet disagrees with him on, religion, he is going to have a cow about it. And I just thought that was hilarious. And I was kind of rooting for him to die, which, spoiler alert, he does. And honestly, I don't even blame the cult, or sorry, non-Christian religious folks for killing him, because he was basically a pussy, frankly. And if I can use that language, just because he's a bad guy, you know, I um, yeah. So he just kind of wanders around and asks people questions like, "Where is this girl? Why aren't you guys using the church? Why is the church just a graveyard? Why aren't you worshiping Jesus every Sunday?" Also, I'm staying at this little bar, and the barkeep has an underage girl. I would very much like to have sex with her, but I'm not going to do it because I'm a good Christian boy, who is engaged to be wed. But he's going to be so incredibly horny. The first night he gets there, he is getting ready to snooze, to doze off. He's laying in bed when uh-oh, his naked underage girl sense starts going off, because he does know somehow that in the next room over, there is a naked girl, and she is singing a song, and she is dancing, and she is naked. And he is so tempted by just a soothing melody that he breaks out in a sweat, that he has to get up from his bed and basically like sprawl out on the wall. Like, imagine that this detective was for a moment a bearskin rug where he's all spread out, but imagine a bearskin rug that was attached to the wall. And that's what this guy is doing. He is like laying flat up against the wall with his ear against the wall because he wants so badly to hear this very pretty song that the lady is singing. But you can just tell that he wants to bang the the barkeep's daughter, um, but he won't do it because he's a good Christian boy, and that makes him a likable protagonist because he doesn't have sex with an underage girl, and that's all I need. After that scene, I was on his side 110%, and then he started being all, "Ooh, I'm a super Christian," and then I was like, "Okay, this guy's a dork." So yeah, basically, Christopher Lee is in this movie, which is funny because I like Christopher Lee a lot. Um, I haven't seen a whole lot of movies from this era where he's actually young. Like, I'm more of a fan of him from like the modern age, I guess. Um, but he plays the leader of the island, and he's the leader of the non Christian religion. And he basically believes that, like, hey, they're like, when you die, you're resurrected and you turn into an animal or a tree or maybe a little piece of grass. So that's basically his religion. But they do a celebration every May Day, and there it's a religious celebration where they do a parade through town, and then they do a couple of sacrifices, and they're like they need to appease the sea god, and they need to appease the sun god, and the sea god they sacrifice a bunch of beer. They basically just pour a barrel of beer into the ocean, and then I guess that's a sacrifice. Um, I guess I don't know, but that's what they do. And then to appease the sun god, if they've had an especially bad harvest, what they sacrifice is usually a young girl. Um, and so that's the twist. This is the twist that you never see coming, is that the girl was going to be sacrificed because they had a bad harvest last year. And um, but and spoiler alert for Wicker Man, he finds the girl and then he takes her to a cliffside, and then he's like, okay, let's run. And then they run through a cave and then they come out the other side, and wouldn't you know it, Christopher Lee is there. And the girl runs right into Christopher Lee's arms. And he's like, oh, you fool detective. Didn't you know that little girls only give you so many points in God sacrifice game? But did you know that virgin adult men give you super bonus points? You get a 3 times multiplier, basically. So if you kill a dude that has never had sex with a woman before, then you get a bunch of bonus points, um, and you win. And basically, your fruit is going to be crazy. And so they build a giant wicker man. Well, they didn't. They don't build it right in front of them. It's already there, and there's a giant space right in the wicker man's tummy that's just for the detective. And all on the arms are different animals. And I think in the head there's an animal. They have like cows and pigs and chickens and ducks. I don't remember seeing a sheep. But basically, they're just like sacrificing a bunch of things because harvest was terrible last year. So they basically just tie up the detective dude and then throw him in the wicker man, and then they light him on fire, and then they start singing a song. I probably should have noted way earlier that this movie is a musical. I feel like that changes a lot because They do just randomly break out in song. Um, Not like what you're thinking, not like, I don't know, like Hairspray or Rent or something where it actually like full stops, but like the Cult sings a bunch of songs. And the one where they sing about the penis pole in the middle of the square, that's probably the best song. And it's weird. It's a weird penis song, about a penis pole in the town square. But it does kind of go hard. So I'll give it that. And they start singing a song, to the Wicker Man as he's dying. And frankly, it's a terrible song. I'm just gonna come out right in front and say it. But not to worry, because Detective Man, he brought a song of his own and he starts singing a Christian hymn as he's burning alive, until he stops and then just starts being like, "Ah, don't kill me anymore. I was just joking. I don't want to be a martyr for Jesus. I just want to live. I just want to live, and I don't want to die in this Wicker Man." But ultimately, he doesn't get his wish, and he roasts, and that's the film. That's the film Wicker Man. It's a classic film. Everybody loves it except for me. I kind of hated it, and I am unapologetic about it. It has like a 4 on Letterboxd, something crazy. Everybody likes this movie. I don't know how this keeps happening because, I mean, in the last 3 months, like 12 Monkeys had the same exact thing where it is super highly regarded. And I watch it and I'm like, this is the dumbest movie I've ever seen in my whole life. I kind of think less of you if you really like this movie. And this is coming from me, who has arguably pretty bad taste in things. Um, but like, I mean, come on, this movie is so lame. And I just, I don't know. I think I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit, which is really the whole point of this program, I guess. But can we stop? Can we stop like propping up these old classic movies and saying that they're the best things that have ever happened when like there are modern works that have taken lessons from classic films and improved upon them. And I just think that that's a way better way to do it. Like, I feel like Midsummer is super inspired by this movie. It pretty much has the same exact ending that Wicker Man has. And it's about like a cult in the north of Europe. And it's very kind of pagan inspired. Like, Midsummer is like totally ripping off Wicker Man. And I don't even particularly like Midsummer that much, but Midsummer is a way better movie than Wicker Man because, you know, the plot of Midsummer isn't Florence Pugh walking around to different cult members being like, have you seen this girl? And then the cult member being like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. I've never even seen him before. And it's that scene like 20 times in a row. And it's like, I don't care. Stop. We aren't learning anything new. We get it. The town is weird and full of a bunch of weirdo cultists. I'm not getting any new information the sixth time you show me the same exact scene in a row. Um, and it's just like, I don't know, Midsummer isn't necessarily super interesting either. It's not boring, but like, it's fine. But I think it's better. Like, I don't know, there's actual like story stuff happening, and I'm actively rooting for the protagonist in Midsummer because her entire family got murdered, and she's with this terrible boyfriend who takes her to a cult in the middle of Sweden, nowhere, and it's just like, okay, well, I want you to survive at least. I didn't care at all for the detective in Wicker Man. He was a coward. And a zealot, which I did not really appreciate. Um, so yeah, I'm just like, I think after seeing Gone with the Wind and after seeing Black Narcissus, I'm completely over the Hollywood classic um, thing. I am not going to rate these terrible, racist, xenophobic films. I'm not going to put them up on a pedestal because they came out 60 years ago and they were the first ones to do it. I don't care. I mean, it's their it's you can make note of it and be like, this is an important film in the genre, but that doesn't mean it's good. You know, Birth of a Nation, very important film. It's one of the very first like epics that detail and the South and the Reconstruction period. It's a very important movie. It was very long, and it told a story that wasn't uh, slapstick shenanigans. It's an important film. It's if I ever watch that movie, I am going to give it half a star because it it spawned the second wave of the KKK. I don't care what the legacy is. I do not care one bit. So I don't think that the Wicker Man is that level, but it is, you know, bad. And it is very very Christian oriented. Like we are supposed to be like rooting for this guy on the basis that he is a Christian. And I don't identify with that, and I don't really think that that's a good character motivator because even if I was a super Christian, there's literally nothing about this guy that's interesting. He's just cop that asks people the same question over and over again. So I don't know. I ask you, film Twitter, not actually, because I'm not tweeting this, but I'm asking the greater film community, whatever, film bros, the type of people that get upset if you say that your favorite movie is Wally or whatever. I need you guys to get in the comments and be like, actually, Wicker Man is a transformative piece of art. It's the first horror musical that was ever made. Um, I can't think of another one, and maybe that's a good reason. I mean, that's why. Not really a good idea. Um, so yeah, I'm tired, and I'm angry and upset. So I'm going to pivot to a movie that I think is worth your time, and it is currently in theaters. Maybe. I think it's a limited release. I watched the hit film Didi, which is very funny because last week I saw a new movie and it was called Sing Sing. So I'm all about two syllables that are repeated as being great films. So Didi is a film about a young 13-year-old boy, a Taiwanese American young man, who is, I guess, coming of age in 2008. And I'm going to be honest, the front 15 minutes is chock full of like, remember AOL Instant Messenger? Remember the Riot Paramore album? Remember the iPod that had a circle on it and then you use it to like turn up the volume and like, the original iPod? Remember that? Remember MySpace? Remember early Facebook? Remember poking people on Facebook? It's just like, it does kind of like do that, where it does feel like the 2000s. Wow, weren't they great? Um, which I don't necessarily think they were. I mean, I don't know. But eh, uh, that was like maybe the one thing about this movie I didn't necessarily like is that it does waterboard you with 2000s nostalgia right off the bat. Um, to the point where like after every new 2000s thing that they were showing, I kind of like laughed. And it was like the music choices, like it felt so like remember the 2000s. Um, which, is fine. It's fine that it's set in the 2000s. I think it's at least semi autobiographical. The director's main, or whatever, the director's name is the same last name as the main character. For some reason, the character in the movie is named Chris Wang, but the director is named Sean Wang. So I'm not sure why he made that change. I guess just to kind of like be like, well, I don't know, is it me? I guess basically he's pulling a Fablemans, where like, it isn't me, Steven Spielberg, that I'm making this movie about. But there's going to be so many overlapping things that I experienced as a young man in the 50s and 60s that like it's an autobiographical movie. And that's kind of the vibe I get from Didi. Um, it's basically if I guess Fablemans meets eighth grade, or any other like middle school into high school family drama or character study or whatever. Which means it's very hard to watch because basically the main character, Chris, spends the entire movie fucking up. Um, in a way that like every teenager does though. And there's like so many things that he does throughout the movie where I was like cringing, where I'm like, oh, I've been there. That's terrible. I remember what that was like. Oh, it's so painful, but also you're really rooting for the kid because you can tell that like he does have a good heart. He's a little like he's a scamp, you know, and maybe he's not like the best friend. He's still figuring everything out, but you can tell that like deep down, there's a good kid in there and you're rooting for him the whole time. And so yeah, I think the movie is very important. It's a very like it's a mom centric movie, and I mean that like because the main character Chris, I'll zoom out a little bit. Give you a general premise. I won't go too much into the details. Chris lives in I actually don't know where he's supposed to be. I don't remember. I don't know. I don't know. He's somewhere. He's in America at some place in 2008. He's living in a small, I think maybe 3-bedroom house, which I guess isn't that small, but it feels small because it is him and his not a single mom, but his dad is overseas in Taiwan making money and then sending it back to his family. Um, and his older sister who's getting ready to go to college, and his grandma, who is his dad's mom, who absolutely hates his mom and constantly is giving her like just constantly criticizing the mom throughout the entire movie. And even though Chris is the main character, he's the eyes of the movie. We're seeing everything through his perspective. But man, I feel like this movie is like totally about the mom because it's utterly heartbreaking because she is like she kind of has like the Evelyn thing from Everything Everywhere, where like she's like I forget what they call her in Everything Everywhere, where it's like she's made all of the wrong decisions and she's ended up in a place where she's not happy. It's that because like she's a really talented painter, and that's like her passion. Her passion is art, but she submits her paintings to different things and is rejected every single time. Like you can tell that that's her passion, but literally nobody gives her any positive feedback on it. Um, like she even shows a painting to her son where it's like a portrait of him and his sister on the beach, and he's the only thing he says about it is "I look stupid," and I'm like, that's a terrible thing to say to someone who is like, hey, I'm really proud of this painting and I painted it and it's of you. And and then you're just like, oh, I look dumb. You did a bad job drawing me or painting me or whatever. It's a terrible thing. and you can tell that she's crushed. And it's just he's at that awkward age where he's like, he's trying to be cool, you know, he's like maybe like interested in like girls for the first time, and it's just like everything is just coming to the surface and it's all awkward and terrible. Um, but it really is like it's kind of focusing on the mother son relationship. I think that's really the thread that this movie really hangs on, um, is that relationship, because you're really pulling for the mom and you're really pulling for the kid, obviously, and he keeps messing up, and the mom is trying her best to connect, and like even like his sister, like they start off having this really bad relationship, but as she's getting ready to go to college, she's like trying to foster a relationship with him, and it's like you can just tell that like he wants to like have these real intimate connections with people, but he isn't completely ready to be honest with himself and with the people around him, and that's what leads to frustration, where there's like multiple times where like he has the opportunity to apologize or to like just say how he's feeling, and it would instantly fix every single problem that this kid is facing, but he can't bring himself to be that real to someone that he's trying to put up this front because he's a teenage kid. And so that's probably the most frustrating part about this movie. I've realized that maybe as you're listening to this, you might be getting the impression that I don't like this movie very much. I described it as painful and frustrating and whatever, but I actually really, really liked it. It's a very, very well done movie. I mean, it's shot really well. It's almost shot like an A24 movie, which it isn't. It's a Focus feature, I actually like Focus quite a bit. I feel like they put out reasonably good stuff, um, and I think this is no exception. There's some like weird, like surreal moments where like um, he's just like he's getting lunch with his mom at one point, and then like I think they might be at like a traditional Thai restaurant or something, because like there's just like a plate and it's like a whole fish, and like at one point he's just kind of sitting there with his mom, and at one point the fish starts talking to him, and it's never really explained. It's just a thing that happens and then it moves on. So there's a lot of like weird curveballs like that, some little moments of levity that kind of really help, because the whole time I was pretty much cringing and really wanting Chris to like make the right decision, and he almost never does. And I don't know. It's a test of empathy, I guess you could say. Because if you watch this movie and you're like, this kid deserves everything that comes his way, because he keeps messing up, so he deserves to be like that. You know, Probably a bad person. This is a great film to watch early in a relationship. And I mean that unironically. It's like the when you go out to like not even a fancy restaurant. You go out to like a sit down place with a date, and then they start mistreating the wait staff. This is like that but in movie form. Because if you sit down and talk with your sweet sweetie that you're trying to swoon, and you're like, hey, what did you think of this hit film? And they're like, that kid was a total idiot. I did not feel any sort of sympathy with him at all. Then that's when okay, bye bye. I have a feeling that this is not going to work. So that's the best thing about this movie, I guess, is that it's a good emotional barometer for a sweet sweetie aspiree. So check out Didi. It's probably in weirdo art house movies or weirdo art house theaters near you. It might be playing at your big movie plexes. I don't know, because there aren't any here anymore. So I don't know. But again, I will shout out the Varsity Theater in Des Moines. Very, very good theater. If you live in the Des Moines area, check them out. They're very, very good, and I go there all the time. And if you see me there, don't say anything. I don't like you. So there you go. That's my part of the show. I'm going to pass it on to Babby for music.
Yippee. Okay. This is kind of similar to last week, actually.
Oh.
More news than music to talk about.
Mm.
Um, last week was famously one of the most busy in terms of releases, like announcements. This week is just about the same almost, actually.
Oh.
Uh, so we got a lot of stuff. Um, hmm. I'm just gonna go in order of things that I have up.
Okay.
The Cure looks like they're teasing a new album.
Oh.
They've been
Okay.
teasing this for like years, actually. Um, but they're actually teasing it now. So I feel like this will be coming sooner rather than later at this point. I'd be interested to see what they sound like in 2024.
Have they
I have no
released
idea.
any stuff in like the last 20 years?
Yeah, I think they have. Yeah,
Okay.
2008 was their last one.
Oh, okay.
So it's been a while, but I know they've been touring a lot. So I think sometimes when you're on tour, things just kind of start happening like that.
Yeah.
But that's number one. Number two, Linkin Park revealed their new frontman or
Oh,
front
yeah.
woman, I should say.
Oh.
Emily Armstrong. They have a new album coming in November. From Zero, I believe. Yeah. Um, yeah. Uh, I am not the biggest Linkin Park fan. I like some of their stuff, but I mean, I'm not too big into the like rap rock new metal fusion thing. Um,
Yeah.
Rage Against the Machine is the obvious outlier there. But I do like some Linkin Park stuff. I think Thousand Suns is probably my favorite one. I just enjoy it. Hybrid Theory goes hard too, but um, not something I listen to on my own usually. But yeah, I'm interested to see what this sounds like. There has been some controversy because she is apparently a Scientologist, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So
And she was like one of the main defenders of Danny Masterson, the guy from that
uh,
70s show that like
yes,
terrible, terrible stuff. So yeah, there's some weird stuff with her there.
there's yeah. Um, so that was weird because like you have the controversy of like picking a new lead, which to me is not really controversial at this point, but I
No.
feel like to diehard fans is going to be a sore point when it comes to some people. I mean, Linkin Park is a gigantic band. Um, so that was the controversy I was expecting. And then the Scientology stuff came out. I'm like, oh, there's controversy.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. But interesting nonetheless. Next, The Weekend,
Hey,
new
oh,
album coming soon.
yes. New
Pretty soon,
song
I
on
would imagine.
Friday.
Yes, new song on Friday. The album is titled "Hurry Up Tomorrow."
Yes.
I
So,
think this is the last Weekend album officially.
yeah, I think so.
I think he's just gonna transition to his real name. I think that's the only real thing here. Kind of a Gambino situation, I would believe. Um, but there was a teaser for it, and there was an entire like Sao Paulo like exclusive concert that was a couple days ago. So yeah, that I did not really watch it. I kind of just wanted to let the new music come out officially. I do like these kind of listening party things, but I don't know. I feel like at the weekend, his albums are so cinematic in this trilogy. I kind of want to just experience it studio quality in album format.
Yeah.
Um, but I did see some of the stage production and stuff, and it looks fantastic. Like it's so good in terms of set design and everything.
Well,
Um,
yeah, it's a weekend.
yeah, I'm really glad he's like since this After Hours tour and stuff, especially like just that album rollout and the music videos and everything has just been like he's leveled up big time with the music videos for the last two records in this trilogy. So I feel like this one's only gonna make it bigger and bigger. But very excited for this.
Yeah.
I heard some like instrumental bits and they sounded really good. I think we are kind of onto something with the more city pop synth heavy route still.
Yeah.
Um, so
I'm for
yeah,
it.
very excited. We'll talk about the single next week.
Absolutely.
War on Drugs. They
What?
are getting a live album ready.
Oh.
So not a real album.
Oh.
but there will be another live album coming soon. They did have another one. I think Live Drugs was the first one in 2020. This one is Live Drugs again.
Oh.
Very funny. But I am excited for it. I think it'll be pretty good. I have not listened to their live album, but I probably should. I think people enjoy it quite a bit, actually. So that's the thing. Um, Radiohead have been rehearsing
Oh.
together. What that means, I don't know. The Tom York camp has been very strange this year because we get two Smile albums and then we have this news. So I don't really know what to make of any of this, honestly. Um, I don't know. I don't think, if anything, it'll be a tour. I don't think it'll be an album. I don't think that'll happen for a couple of years still. I'm just being realistic. Um,
Yes.
but yeah. Big things. Kendrick
Oh yeah.
headlining the Super Bowl next year,
Yeah.
or the Super Bowl of this season
In February.
next year.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, this will be. He already did the Super Bowl in 2022,
He did.
but now
Wasn't even
he's
that long
headlining, I
ago.
believe.
Yeah, he is.
So I think he'll be the. I don't know. Is he the first solo rapper to like be the main headline act? I think he is.
Oh.
Because I
Yeah,
think Travis
probably.
Scott was with Maroon 5, and
Yes.
that 22 Super Bowl was like a mixture of a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean that was the first like time that rap headlined. It was just
Yes.
rap, but not a single artist.
Right. So I think this will be the first solo headline rapper. All of this, of course, is with the Jay-Z NFL merger, where Jay-Z is kind of in charge of this stuff now. So a lot of this, the recent year things make sense.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, it's cool, I guess. I don't really care. I'm sure it'll be a good performance. It's Kendrick. He has so many songs that he could do for this. Um, I'm not going to get into the politics of the Super Bowl. I feel like people know my feelings on this already. There's that one No Name song that perfectly reflects how I feel about all of this stuff. But I think it'll be cool. It's interesting that like he included like little disses or like
Yeah,
references to the beef in his little
he did, and
thing.
it was
So
funny.
when it comes to like victory lap upon victory lap, I'm all for that. I love it.
Oh yeah.
It's fun. Um, yeah, I think the just referencing that Drake wanted a round two, and he's like, "There's no round twos. You don't get this."
Yeah, you get
Um,
one shot for the championship, no round
yeah,
twos. Yeah.
yeah, and then the whole idea that first person shooter had the Super Bowl line in it that Drake said, and then he's now headlining the Super Bowl, which is just cosmic justice upon cosmic justice.
Yeah.
So yeah, still exciting. We'll see what comes of it. I would still think he would have an album soon. He's all over the place. He's never this like out in public and doing things without like an album near completion.
Yeah,
So
it's weird.
it is a little strange. But I will be ready for when it's here. Honestly, there's so many albums coming out in the back half of this year. Take your time.
That's true.
I still want it, but like I am flooded at this point
Yeah, there's a
in the
lot.
next 3 months. So, yeah, that's the thing. Okay, biggest thing today. This is something that was like this is the least expected thing I've ever seen. Bon Iver new album?
Oh,
Question
what?
mark. Yes. Um, we don't know if this is for sure an album yet. We don't really know anything. But there was a teaser posted to social media, and he has updated all of his socials with new imagery and stuff. And there's a pre-save link on the website.
Oh.
So this is the least expected thing because I thought like I was like 90% sure they were done. Um, but I also know that he takes a long time to make things, and he doesn't make music just to make music.
Yeah.
I also thought the Four Seasons thing was like there's four seasons. Now we're done.
Right.
But of course, since we're doing videos on it and about to finish it, the artist has to be like, "Hey guys, I got something coming."
Actually, I'm
This
coming
happens
back.
to us. This happens to us too much.
Yeah, I know.
It just happened to us, and it
Yeah.
happened with Beth Gibbons.
Yeah, and Beth Gibbons and like Black
Yep.
Star. We did a video
Yep.
on Black Star and then they came back after like
Yeah.
25 years.
That's crazy. Uh, so I'm not saying we're responsible. I'm just saying this happens way too much, and it's terrifying.
Yes.
But needless to say, I'm very excited for this. This was kind of like a no, this isn't really happening, is it? Because like in my mind, everything was like leading towards like, oh, he's probably just done with Bon Iver
Yeah.
as a project. Especially when like I saw them on tour last year. There was no new material, no new anything. We got reworked versions of II songs, and that was it. He played
Mhm.
a couple of like the newer singles. Like that's another thing. I don't know if, and I kind of hope that the new singles are not on this record. I think "Please Don't Live in Fear." There's one or two other ones as well. I don't think these will be on the new album. Hopefully, not that they're bad songs. I don't think these would fit into an album narrative.
Mm.
Oh yeah, "Ate Up All Their Cake" is the other one. But at the same time, those singles do have Bon Iver season 5 on the cover art,
Yeah, they do.
so it could be. Um, it's crazy though because those tracks came out in 2020. It's 4
Yeah.
years later.
Hey, I mean, SZA
Um,
did it.
that is true. That is true. So, yeah, we know very little. The new imagery and stuff looks cool. Definitely a comeback kind of feel.
Yeah.
Very grayscale compared to the very colorful II stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so, I'm very excited. We'll see
Yeah,
where
me
it
too.
goes.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, that was the least expected thing, and I'm like, oh my god, the last end of this year is just crazy. My entire year end list is going to be a void in 2 months probably. Um,
I know.
but yeah, okay. So I think that's all the main news. Um, Unless I'm missing something, but I don't think I am. Gambino postponed his North American tour. Said to focus on my physical health. I did see that like Ticketmaster does not allow artists to say they have COVID. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I thought
so he
I
might have
saw
COVID.
somewhere it said illness.
Yeah, he says physical health.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly what that means, but um, hopefully people all get their tickets refunded, and I hope that he is chilling. So um, yeah, I think that was the only other big one. Okay, new albums this week. Listen to one. There's another one I want to check out. I just have not gotten to it yet. But the one I did get to is Molkat Doma, the Belarusian post-punk dark wave band. I feel like I've talked about them once or twice. They make incredibly Slavic kind of dark wave electronic post-punky stuff.
Hmm.
Um, it's pretty sick. I enjoy it. It's nothing like too crazy, but it's something cool to put on in the background. It's they use brutalist architecture as a lot of their album covers, and the albums often sound like how brutalist architecture would probably sound, mixed with vaporwave, which is cool. I like that. But new record is Balaya Poilosa. Um, 48 minutes. It's cool. It has like a more of like a disco almost like hint to it that is really cool. I was playing the Call of Duty beta and listening to this felt like I was listening to like the Call of Duty soundtrack that they put on like the main menus and stuff because it had this like militaristic like but still like cool techno kind of feel to it. That was really nice. I can't pick out any of the tracks or anything, but it's a cool thing to kind of just throw on if I'm in that kind of mood. So yeah, very nice. Not gonna top my end of the year or anything, but it's a cool thing and I enjoy it. So there it is. Um, but yeah, there you go. What else did I listen to this week? I did miss one Mount Erie release, so I did do that.
Oh.
Uh, I didn't miss it. I needed to wait because it is Mount Erie Part 6 and 7, which is Part 6 and 7 to the Microphones Mount Erie album.
Oh.
So it's like an EP. It's cool. It's not like anything too insane. It's just 4 tracks, like 25 minutes. It just kind of plays in the atmosphere of the record more. It doesn't really like add anything groundbreaking, but also at the same time, they're pretty nice songs, but nothing too like noteworthy or anything. I think the coolest thing about it would be like getting the physical EP because it has a whole bunch of artwork and picture discs and booklets and stuff, um, which is obviously not available anymore. So I'd have to pay like $300 to probably get my hands on one because it comes with like a 130-page like art book. So which would be sick, but the music is still pretty cool. Um, but yeah, that was the new things I listened to this week. It was definitely not like a very eventful week in terms of listening. We've just getting pound with like announcements and release dates. So
Yeah.
not slowing down at all. But when the weekend album gets announced, we're probably doing that on the channel. I would say like 99% sure. Like that should be a reaction.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
So very excited for that. But yeah, I think that was most of it. I've been jamming that Magdalena Bay album. It is ridiculously good, um, addicting even. Like I
Mhm.
really started like getting into it, and it is just phenomenal. So listen to that because it's crazy good. Um, but that's it. It's fall.
It
My
is.
playlist is already fall tuned, so I didn't really have to make a lot of changes to that,
Well, that's
honestly.
good. Yeah, I regret to inform the group. I got 3 songs into the Magdalena Bay album and turned it off because I didn't like it very much.
Oof.
I'm
No
sorry,
soul.
everybody. I feel like that should have been a
No
layup.
soul. Yeah, it's weird because everybody is like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing ever," and I'm like, "That can't be that good, right?"
Well, and I love synth pop. Like this is like right up my alley. I was so excited for Mercurial World.
Hmm.
That was like probably the one I was looking forward to the most on Babjab's wheel, but I don't know. I might try it again, but
Maybe it was wrong mind state,
maybe
wrong time, wrong place.
it
I
could
get that a
be.
lot.
I'm not going to rule it out. Maybe I'll try it again this week. But I'll be honest, I was listening to it while I was at work. So maybe I need to
Hmm.
do it when I get home and put on actual headphones. But
It's an incredibly fun record, so I feel like you have to like have the sun in your eyes or do something like you know something like that.
uh, yeah, I'll give it another shot. But yeah, yeah. That was really the only new thing I listened to this week. So
Sick.
I didn't even really listen to it. I mean, I've been jamming Punisher.
That's fun.
That's fun in a way. In a certain way, I guess you could say that.
Everybody's releasing except her at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I would like a new Phoebe album.
Me too.
I guess it
Kind
hasn't
of
been
weird.
that long since Boy
I
Genius.
mean, yeah,
Was that
but still,
last year or the year after?
it
No, that
was
has to
last
be
year.
2023.
Yeah,
So I guess it hasn't been that long, but I don't know. I don't know anymore.
I don't know
Anyways,
anything.
I listened to the Stevie Wonder song "Can We Fix Our Nation's Broken Heart," which came out.
Oh yeah, I forgot he released.
He still kind of got it. I mean, it's
I mean, it's
it's
Stevie.
it's no songs in the key of life, but it was pretty good. He can still sing. It's kind of shocking considering how old he is. It's like his voice is smokier now, but like I don't know, he still kind of got it. It's not a song I'm probably ever going to listen to again, but I was impressed.
That's good.
That's all I'll say about that. Um okay. Yeah, that's really it. Is that all you have, good sir?
I think so.
Okay. Do we have anything? No. It's so sad. I'm so used to being like, join us next week when we have a
In
new
summer.
monkey movie, and now I can't even do it. Although I do need to probably get ready for a Halloween marathon because I did like doing that. It's not going to
Mm-hmm.
be as in depth. I feel like I went not even too hard. I just feel like the I maybe should have turned that podcast marathon into like a video essay because I feel like that's kind of what I did over the course of
That's
like
why I'm
three
doing that because I
hours.
need like some sort of closure.
Yeah, because like it's something I'm really proud of. Like kind of documenting how horror changed over its entire existence and how the Hays Code impacted it and how certain trends came and went. I thought that was really cool and interesting. Um, and I feel like that would have been way better in video form. Even though I wouldn't have been the first person to do it because I'm sure someone's done that before. But I don't know. I'll do something. I'll do something.
I might join you on Halloween this year. I might do like a movie, a music Halloween
Hey, there we go.
Horrorcore album every week.
That would be nice.
I don't know. I'd have to compile like the scariest, most unsettling albums I can find.
Great. So I'm glad that
I'm
October is
sure I
going
could
to
do
be
it.
a rough month for the both of us.
Yeah, I mean, like I just finished a deep dive. I'm like there's a hole where I like usually have music to look forward to during my week, and now it's kind of just waiting for new releases
That's true. That's true. I
and
mean,
making the video. But
of course. Well, what even is the next thing coming out? Soccer Mommy for sure.
Godspeed's earlier in October,
Oh, okay.
and then Soccer Mommy I think is near the end of October.
Yes, October 25th.
Yeah.
I was looking at our
Um.
list. So that gives us a
Oh yeah.
lot of time of no really new releases on the channel.
Yeah, and then they all hit because it's gonna be Creep, Godspeed, and the Smile all in one day. So I'm gonna be slammed.
Right, but I don't think those are gonna be. I mean, we're not gonna
None of
do
them are gonna be the
that
channel,
Godspeed on
but
the
it's
channel.
no.
One day,
We'll do a Godspeed on the channel, but
yeah.
not that one.
Um, yeah. Wait, all three of those come out on one day?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy
It'll be
weekend for you.
a big day. That's why I'm like, Bon Iver, please do not do October 4th. Do not do November 1st because you're not getting the first listen, unfortunately.
What's November 1st?
That's the Mount Erie album,
Oh,
which those two coming out on the same day would be too much, I think.
I think so. I think so.
But we should also probably do the Bon Iver on the channel
Oh,
because
absolutely.
it makes the most sense.
Yeah, of course. That goes without saying.
Mm-hmm.
If Bon Iver or Fleet Foxes drop a new album, we're
Yes,
listening to it on the channel.
absolutely.
We need to finish Fleet Foxes, which I know we're going to do, but
Yeah, I have Crack Up in my wheel. If we got a good last week, I would have picked it, but
oh,
I did not get a good. So
okay. Well, I still think we should just do
we can
Bon
slam it
Iver.
in there. Once I is done, we'll be done with Bon Iver. We'll probably do one video on it recapping everything. Although the new record might come out, so we should probably wait.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. Maybe just like wait a couple months just to see what
Yeah, see if
happens.
anything happens.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for the future of music. And really just the future in general. I'm very optimistic. I'm very hopeful. It seems like things are moving in the right direction. I don't know what's so
I'm
funny.
terrified.
uh, oh well. What are you gonna do? Okay, bye bye.